Well, Welch Divinity School is the realization of a long-standing dream we've had here at Welch to add a Master of Divinity program. And we believe that it's especially important right now in a time of rapid secularization and cultural change in the United States to begin to give ministers, young ministers especially, more tools to deal with a rapidly secularizing culture.
Welch Divinity School is focusing on three pillars, three areas of emphasis: theology, ministry, and community. By theology, we're really emphasizing that classical discipline of theological inquiry to bear on the issues that we're facing today. The second pillar, ministry, simply means that we are concerned about ministry, about the practicality of theology. Theology is driving practice. And then the third aspect, community, we are very interested in a mentoring relationship between faculty member and student. A small faculty to student ratio just increases the kind of quality that you can receive as a student in an educational environment. And you're going to be mentored in a community that's fostering you in preparation for the ministry that God's called you to.
Probably my favorite thing about Welch is the investment of the teachers. So the teachers always gave timely and constructive feedback. As a teacher myself, it's a challenge. It's something that challenges me still. I would say, oh man, over at Welch, those teachers gave me feedback the next day on my assignment. And so that continues to challenge me because I know as a teacher there's a lot of things that you handle and a lot of responsibilities that you juggle. But the commitment of the teachers to their students here was something that I find very exemplary.
One of the things that I learned through the program that has been very beneficial was the culture aspect, and understanding culture as though, you know, we're not, as Christians, supposed to be closed off from culture. We're supposed to be involved in it. We're in the trenches, and as pastors, as Christians, as lay people, you know, we can go out to our jobs and we can live out our faith, which is theology is for all of life.
I just think one of the most powerful things is being able to have one-on-one conversations with people who are experts in the field that they're instructing in, and getting the opportunity to ask just, hey, I know this concept, what do you think this looks like in this situation in my local church or in my local ministry that I'm a part of? And they became more like friends and peers than they were professors and students. And I would have relationships with professors that I began when I was in the master's program and in my undergrad here at Welch that I will have for the rest of my life.
We're really unique in the theological tradition that we ultimately present at Welch because we're coming from a Protestant background, but a Protestant background that's associated with what's come to be known as a Reformed Arminian tradition or Reformation Arminianism, stemming from the teachings of James Arminius, in conversation, of course, with John Calvin. This is really the only place a Free Will Baptist student can do this type of study from professors that believe exactly what we see in the treatise of the National Association of Free Will Baptists.
I've never been one to thrive academically before I came to Welch, and the Welch Masters was very rigorous and it was intense for me. I really had to work hard to do well in the program. And I was very intimidated moving on from a place like Welch where I was very comfortable and being in a new setting with people that I didn't know at a big university with top researchers, the top researchers in the world. I was able to jump right in, didn't feel like I was behind. I felt like I was prepared for that moment.
All theology should drive our practice, or if you turn it the other way, really we can trace our practice, we can trace it every time back to our underlying theological beliefs. So I think today we don't need less theological training in the complexities of our current culture. We need more theological training. So the more solid foundation we can build now is going to equip us for more effective ministry in the future.
If you're interested in getting a classical theological education with academic excellence, combined with an emphasis on the practice of Christian ministry from faculty who've rolled up their sleeves and are involved in the ministry of the local church, Welch is the place for you. We've got an emphasis on community and spiritual formation and discipleship and mentoring outside of class that goes along with that rigorous academic program. And what's more, we have one of the most affordable MDiv programs in the country. Because of generous donor support, our scholarships make this affordable for you. So I invite you to come and be a part of what we're doing here at Welch Divinity School. The new Welch Divinity School is the newest program at Welch. And our MDiv, which has been provided by a private foundation, they gave us a $500,000 grant to start this. It's an exciting fulfillment of a dream that we've had for a number of years. And the MDiv is really designed to begin a new master's level, 3-year divinity degree that will continue to push young men to consider the ministry. Now, we talked yesterday about the fact that we have a crisis in our denomination, and we need to encourage young men to ask whether God has called them to the ministry. But when they come to Welch College and to Welch Divinity School, they will see an educational and academic program that is centered on ministry. Everything we do is about the local church and seeing lay people who are committed to Christ, who are educated to be salt and light in a secular community and a secular job, to come alongside their pastors and to support them and to be lay leaders in a local congregation. As we educate leaders to serve as pastors and to go into the highways and byways to be foreign missionaries and church planters. And so the MDiv is just another way of doing that. We continue to add new programs like the Spanish Institute, which Jose Rodriguez has started for us, our computer science emphasis, a major in math education, and a number of other programs that we're adding. And so God is doing great things. This has been a very difficult year for Welch College. It's been one of the most difficult years we've ever had. And yet at the same time, it's been one of the best years in terms of learning and growth that we have ever had. But I am excited to tell you that when we get there this fall, there will be no masks and there will be no social distancing. And I know the students are excited to hear about that. But we had a tough year last year. Our enrollment went down by nearly 15%. And we expect that our freshman enrollment will be down again because we haven't been able to recruit students for the last year and a half. Up until just to the last few months, we haven't been able to recruit students. And so our fundraising is down, our enrollment is down. And yet God has blessed us, and we did receive the stimulus money from the federal government, and because of that, we're proud to say that we only had a $98,000 deficit. We had come to the body last year and had projected that we would have a $765,000 deficit, but thank God we only had a $98,000 deficit. We're projecting a $750,000 deficit this year, but we need to pray that things will go better and that we will do like we did this past year and still have a wonderful academic year and a wonderful fiscal year. Now, there are a lot of wonderful things happening at Welch College. And if it hadn't have been for the pandemic, we would have had the greatest enrollment we've had in 37 years. The year before the pandemic was the greatest enrollment in 36 years. And we expect after we get over the pandemic and after we get over the effects of the pandemic, our enrollment will continue to increase and we will begin to grow, and we expect that we're going to grow and achieve the largest enrollment in the history of Welch College within the next 5 years. And so things are really going well, and we're really excited. But one of the most exciting things is that when so many other colleges are struggling to get students to come into a dormitory, residential, undergraduate, on-campus degree program, we are growing, and that area of our campus is growing. And Free Will Baptist students are coming to find out what it means to think God's thoughts after Him, to learn to be a leader equipped for ministry in a local church context. And students' lives are being changed, and they're going out and changing other people's lives. And so we're excited about that. Since we got to the new campus back in 2017, a number of donors have come out of the woodwork who are interested in helping Welch College, and God has placed Welch College on their hearts. And I believe that we are going to see some wonderful things happen as these donors begin to give to new initiatives at Welch College, and we see our debt retired, and we see a new chapel built on that campus, and many new campus buildings to continue the ministry that God has called us to. I envision the greatest era of mission fulfillment and growth in the history of the institution. And let's pray that as these donors begin to get over the pandemic and the effects of the pandemic on their businesses, that they will be able to fulfill their goals and their visions of helping Welch College to reach the greatest heights that it's ever reached in the history of our college and of our denomination. We look forward to the day when we will have not only an MDiv program, but a DMin program and a PhD program, and that we will be able to be a world-class Christian university that is regionally accredited, that is by Free Will Baptists, of Free Will Baptists, and for Free Will Baptists, but will be recognized in the evangelical community as one of the greatest world-class universities in America that has a Christian world and life view. So we want you to continue to pray for us. Continue to send us those students that we love from these Free Will Baptist churches, and continue to give and recommend people in your church who have means to get on board with the vision that God has called us to as He continues to lead us in the future. At this time, I'm going to ask Brother Craig Mailer, our Chief Financial Officer, to come and give our financial report, and then Brother Moderator, that will complete our report.
Thank you, Dr. Pinson. If you don't have, we have our financial report. Hopefully those are at the table, and certainly at the registration table out front as well. But considering the ongoing and unprecedented impact of COVID-19 and the global pandemic, financial outcomes of Welch College as of May 31, 2021 are overall very positive. As Dr. Pinson mentioned, our deficit at the end of the year was only $98,000, and that was after we had projected a deficit as high as $765,000 this time last year. So we certainly thank God for His blessing us throughout the year and helping us to navigate this very uncertain time. Crosland PLLC, who is our auditors, they continue to finalize the annual audit and expects to issue the final report, including notes to the financial statements and the unmodified audit opinion in the coming weeks. So today we're bringing to you in this booklet the unaudited financial statements. Those are on pages 6 through 11, the management summary, which begins on page 12, and then the final audit for the year end May 31, 2020. So first, let me just give a brief overview of the financial statements. The consolidated statements of activities, that is on page 7. Total student revenue, so tuition, room, and board, decreased by $660,000. That was the 15% decrease in enrollment that Dr. Pinson mentioned. Private gifts, excluding the capital campaign, were slightly more than the previous fiscal year and totaled $1.78 million. We are very grateful for a generous gift of $159,000 net received from the First Free Will Baptist Church of Montgomery, Alabama, after they gifted and the college sold the church's campus in May. And that is included in that $1,778,000. Because of the generosity of the college's donors and friends, tuition for students was subsidized $234 per semester hour through Welch Fund donations, meaning the average full-time student paid $7,020 less in tuition. There are two minor notes in terms of accounting policies or changes to the financial statements, and one of those is a slight change in presentation of the college's statement of activities. After receiving a best practice suggestion from the staff of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools and consulting with our auditors, the college decided to classify its income and expenses as either operating or non-operating on the face of the statement of activities. Again, that's on page 7. Total operating revenues, gains, and support increased by $585,000 to end the year at $7,029,000. However, in that total, and we've mentioned both the PPP loan and the funds received from the Higher Education Emergency Relief Funds, there were $1,326,000 of pandemic relief funds in that total for the fiscal year we just ended. Net assets released from non-operating activities totaled $416,000, and that is the amount of the Building on the Legacy capital campaign released. Because of curtailed fundraising and the effects of the pandemic on potential donors, willingness to make new pledges, giving to the Building on the Legacy capital campaign was drastically decreased. Expenses decreased by approximately $615,000, and our overall net change in net assets, both with and without donor restrictions, was a positive $1,252,000. And the reason for that gain overall is because of, as we mentioned in the report, the college received significant restricted contributions through both the Riverside Fellowship Church in Michigan and the East Nashville Free Will Baptist Church that increased the college's endowment. The balance sheet, or the statement of financial position, that's on page 6. Total assets increased slightly by $380,000 to just over $41 million. We received the first and second draw PPP loan. The first loan was forgiven in March. We expect that the second loan will be forgiven in this current year once we apply. Our budget is found on page 16 of the management summary, and total income $6.4 million, total operating expenses $7.9 million, and as Dr. Pinson mentioned, we expect a significant deficit in this current year as a result of 2 consecutive years of small incoming classes and the fact that college-sponsored travel for recruiting and fundraising has yet to fully return to normal. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to address those, but we are definitely grateful for your support and thank God for helping Welch College through this very tumultuous year.